Hey guys, how's it going? So I really wanted to take this opportunity to show you guys a real transcript of what happened between me and a woman when I met her and everything was going great. And, she said to me like, oh, I have a pact with myself that I'm not going to date anybody until sort of the end of July. This is how I turned it around. This is how I got her out on a date and built a connection there. The other thing that I would share that's really, really important here is I read into the situation. When we were out on the date, I actually mentioned to her, like, I think I know why you made this pact to yourself. I understand the resistance here. And I think you've been hurt. I also read into the situation that she's a musician. Musicians live by their feelings all the time. They write music based off of their feelings. And so I actually kind of checked out her Instagram, and lo and behold, she has a lot of videos there about guys that have broken her heart, things like that. And so I read into the situation and I approached her about it, and I was absolutely right. She was like, look, I was in 4 consecutive relationships. So I decided that I'm going to kind of take a break from dating right now. And the thing to remember is to not take this personally, like, at all. This is just part of the game. It happens, and it's something that she decided way before she even met me. It has nothing to do with what I did. So here's the thing. If it happens, just be persistent, okay? And use good text game.
Right now, I'm going to go through a text transcript. It's one of those girls that, like, I had immediate chemistry with. I knew that it was on. We had a lot in common, and, we were flirting a lot, and I was teasing her, and, she was playing along, and there was just definitely a lot of rapport there. When I asked her out, it was like, for me, it was just like a very obvious, like, let's go out. And she came back and she said, like, I have made a pact to myself that I am not going to date anybody until July. And that's something that she decided, like, way before she met me. So I actually sent her a first text when I got home, right? I got home and I sent her a text. It was a very general text. Most of the time, my first text would be a lot more creative. But I sent her a text and I was like, oh, hey, I checked out your music, because she's a musician. I checked out your music, and, I really liked it. I would have normally been way more creative. And as I talk about in another video, I actually deleted the text. And the reason I deleted the text is because I wanted it off my mind. And I also deleted the text because I didn't really want this to become like, I don't really want to have to go through this entire process right now with somebody that's already closed off before they even meet me. And so I was like, I waited, I think, a few minutes, and then I just deleted it. I said, you know what, I'm just going to go off to some other girl because I'm really not that interested. But she responds back. She goes, hey, Alex, very happy to hear that. The soothing sounds of, and then she says, her name as an artist. And so I respond back, I could easily see her popping up on a Disney Channel commercial mixed with a bit of Fergie. Both of these are compliments. They represent the type of music that I heard on Spotify from her. And it was all about, like, kind of felt like little Disney Channel, kind of Fergie. Like, so this is a compliment, but it's something that's funny as well, right? Disney Channel, nobody wants to have music that's out there for, a Disney Channel. So it's a little bit of a tease, but it's also a compliment at the same time. By the way, I want to go ahead and point out, I did block out a lot of the names of the places. I blocked out her personal name. That's just to protect the places and protect, her personal name as well. Because, I don't want that getting out for any reason. So she responds back, that's a solid combination. I like. The newer stuff is a bit more depressing, but even Meg Ryan has her ups and downs. When I met her, she made a joke about, I actually made a joke about her being kind of like Meg Ryan, and in that cute way. It was a compliment. But here's her trying to qualify herself a little bit. That's a solid combination. The newer stuff, she's like, don't pay attention to that. The newer stuff, this is her qualifying her music a little bit. So I come back and I name a name of her song, which is all about, like, keeping, cuddling up and things like that, right? That was sort of in the lyrics of a song that I heard from her on Spotify. And I named the name of the song and I said, has a hint of romance in it. Lyrics talk a lot about the winter. I didn't think June was winter. I could be wrong, though. Now, I thought that she had said that she wasn't going to date anybody until July, but she actually, till June, but it was actually July. She goes, you lost me, Alex. She goes, June? I said, no, I meant July, the pact you made it to yourself about dating. Remember, I'm reminding her, sassy. I said, now, I didn't ask her out right off the bat. Now I'm making it all about July, right? So it's like I have so much more to play with here. I have so much more to risk. So I come back and I go, haha, I'm planning out our romantic date since there's a ton of time. You like Nobu. So now I'm putting in her mind that, like, almost like a, Nobu to take somebody out on a first date is like spending like $300 or $400, on dinner. Maybe 200 if you're lucky. But, that's a really, really nice dinner, and it's overlooking the ocean in Malibu. I mean, it's a pretty expensive, high-end place. So I go, you like Nobu is sort of a joke, right? But she doesn't know that. She's thinking in her mind, oh, maybe like he's going to actually take me out to Nobu. Now, here's the thing. I didn't ask her out to Nobu. I was just asking if she likes it, right? So she comes back, well, what a story to tell the grandkids, right? So she's using future projection. She's using a joke. She's obviously very clearly into me when she does things like that. She goes, I've only actually been one time, and it was for dessert, decent apple crumble. So she probably went with a guy. Girls don't go on girls' night to Nobu, right? So, and then probably if she was with a guy, he took her there to try and impress her, or maybe a guy she was seeing, but he didn't splurge out for the dinner itself, which is also indication of what I'm going to find out later, that she was, she was hurt by a couple different guys, and so that's kind of what triggered this entire behavior. That basically a lot of the pushback. So she comes back. She says, I said their sushi is actually off the charts, and I'm a sushi snob, right? I even sometimes think I'm part Japanese. That's how much I dig sushi. Haha. Joke. Keep it light. She goes, I'm also a sushi lover. You ever do conveyor belt sushi hot? It's definitely not Nobu fancy, lol, but some serious charm. I said I'm all about places with charm, old school rom-com style. What's your take on sugarfish? Now I'm getting down to it really. Like, we're talking about sushi. Sugarfish, one of my favorite restaurants for sushi here in Los Angeles. And old school rom-com style. I'm putting in her mind. I've already called her Meg Ryan. We've talked about rom-coms. There's this image in her mind of like me being sort of like the Hugh Grant in the movie, and her being like the, Meg Ryan or whatever. And so there's this rom-com connection between us. And now I'm talking about Sugarfish, another place I've only been once. I've liked it, but not sure if I standing ovation like it. People rave about it. Is that a favorite of yours? So she's asking questions. It shows that she's clearly interested in what I like. She said, I'm not a picky eater, so I pretty much like everything. She said, yeah, Sugarfish is pretty much my kryptonite. This is going along the joke of, I am actually Superman. Kryptonite, something people say all the time, but it subconsciously sort of delivers in her mind that I'm actually Superman, but this is the way to actually get to me, is Sugarfish. That's my favorite. And now I fire off the date because I've texted her enough. This is like 5 pages of texting. Usually I would have asked her faster, but because she had some pushback, and she said, I'm not gonna, I told myself, I made a pact with myself, not going to date anybody till July. I waited until now, but now I didn't ask her out for sushi because I'm more of a fan of taking a girl out on for a date for drinks first, because and I'll talk about another video, but I'm just more of a fan of that for a first date. And so I said, let's grab a drink at X in Venice Friday night. They have a mean guacamole and a terrible view of the ocean. I say this all the time because I live here on the ocean. I live at the beach. And I say it to girls all the time, like, we're going to, and I go to this bar that's a rooftop, right on the beach in LA. And I'm like, oh man, the view here is horrible. Like, this is terrible. I can't even believe, and in reality, it's funny because there's no terrible view of the ocean. And so she goes Friday night in July. And then she goes, what do you get at Sugarfish? Just, so I know what I know what to get next time I go. So here I stand my ground, right? I could have just run away and say, okay, fine, we'll meet up in July. But I stand up my ground because I want to hang out with her. I want to get to know her, right? So I respond back, I actually meant this Friday for casual drinks so that we can meet and fully focus on planning the actual sushi date in July with the live mariachi band. And then they say, I have a Toro roll at Sugarfish, which is funny, is my name. And, I have a Toro roll at Sugarfish, pretty much the best thing there. Now, the funny thing about this is mariachi bands do not play at sushi restaurants anywhere. But, I am planning out this amazing, remarkable, unbelievable, extremely expensive, high-end date in July. So this Friday is, we're just meeting for a casual drink. And so we're going to plan out this date when you're actually ready to date. So she comes back. It's all very funny and it's all very light and playful. So she comes back. She says, "If I agree to meet you for a casual drink on Friday, planned for July, you have to promise me it is not a date. Therefore, there will be no date-like behavior deal." So she's throwing out the frame, right? So she's asking me to jump into the frame and sort of just agree with what she's saying. Now, I agree with what she's saying, but I take control of the frame again, but I do it from a comedic standpoint because I'm not being over serious here, right? So I go, "Deal, as long as you promise me that if I plan to sing just a little bit when we meet, you're going to pretend I have a good voice, even if I don't. Haha, pinky swear." She knows I'm a singer and, and that I'm into music. And so I control the frame again, but I do it from a funny point of view. She goes, "I will lie to your face and tell you you have the voice of an angel, pink swear, and only one drink. I have a long day Saturday, muy importante, which means very important." Now, she's trying to take control of the frame again. She's trying to show I am going to take control here, no matter what you do. So, and all of these are kind of tests. And when a woman tests you, it's a great thing because it shows that she's interested in you. But these are sort of tests. She's trying to take control of the frame. A lot of guys would have just been like, "Okay, cool, that's fine," But I respond back and I make another joke. 8:46. I use this time all the time in my when I create a date. It's always 8:46. It's never 8:45 or 9 o'clock. It's always some off number. I save in the name of the place in Venice. I have to leave at 9:46, which is exactly an hour, right? To the minute. And I said, "I too have a long Saturday. Text pinky swear, El Angel." This is funny because text pinky swear, because you can't pinky swear over text, but this is what we're trying to do. And then I go El Angel because she said right here, muy importante, which means, very important. So I said El Angel, and I'm throwing her words back at her, right? So then she goes, reading that, I was like, phew. And then she goes, "Huh? LOL." So she didn't understand what I said. I said, "LOL, I'll just see you Friday. I don't have to sit here and explain the joke to her," right? She goes, "Oh, at 8:46, LOL, so exact. I like your style." I said, "That's the way I roll." So the date is already set up. Now, I actually kind of want to talk to this girl a little bit about music because we both have a big passion for music. So I just came in. I was like, "By the way, this song is on repeat on my Spotify playlist," because it was, and I was like really into it. And so I give her a tactic, right? I give her something to do to listen to that song. Chances of her listening to it are really high because it's a good song. It builds intrigue, and she's also really into music. She's a musician. So then she goes, "Oh shit, rock out, man." Here's important. She wrote here, "rock out, man." When she writes things like "man," these are triggers for friend zone, right? These are triggers for she's throwing it out as like a test to see if I'm gonna catch the bait of her like trying to throw me into friend zone, right? But I just ignore it, and I was like, she goes, "My song on repeat, it sounds a wee bit different than that." Now, I could have said, "What is it?" But instead, I turned a question into a statement. "Okay, your turn." And so she has to kind of come. She hits me with a little Tom Petty. I go, "Tom Petty legend, indeed." I go, "Thoughts on John Mayer?" I'm a huge fan of John Mayer's music. She goes, "Lots of John Mayer songs that I love. Slow Burning in a Dancing Room. Several on the Battle Studies album, What About You?" She says, "What about you?" She's trying to learn more about me. I'm throwing it back at her. I said, I've been singing XO, and I'm going to learn slow dancing in a burning room. Thing is, he's in my vocal range because I'm a baritone. I have a deep voice. Hard for me to reach higher notes. She goes, "Oh, yes. His version is XO is great. I sang at a few open mics." She goes, "I bet you're a good singer and you're playing it cool. Is that what you're doing?" Now, I respond here, "Ha, ha, 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 ha." No answer, just ha, 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 ha. Just being coy with her, right? She goes, "I'll take that as a yes." I said, "There's only one way to find out." Now, I wanted to say in the moment, my instinct in the moment was, instead of only one way to find out, I was trying to say, actually, I was going to say, like, "I'll let you to be the judge of that." But that throws it too much into her frame. She's like, "Oh, I'll let you be the judge of that," which basically says, like, "Oh, you're going to be the judge of me and the judge of the fact that if I'm a good singer or not." So I said, only one way to find out. It's obvious what that way is, and I'm going to sing for her. So I said, "I'm addicted to singing. I went to open mic a while back. Here we just vibe about the different places that we went to." She goes, "I've been to that place a couple times. Did you perform there?" "Yeah, sure did." Now she responded back to me like at 11:30 or something like that. And I was actually sleeping because I go to sleep pretty early. I woke up, did my morning routine, and then I texted her back and I was like, "Hey, sorry, passed out last night. I like the open mic at that place. The guy with the cool 70s haircut is super cool. Their sound system and acoustics are awesome." But I said I'm more of a fan of the other place. Then she responds back a couple hours later. Was driving to Calabasas. It's part of LA. Writing session today. Yeah, and then she says, "Guy, he's my dude. I never been to that place for open mic. Have to check it out." She goes, "Going into my session night now. I'll talk to you later." She could have just signed off and just stopped responding, but she sort of let me know that she's going to talk to me later. That she's going into some different things, and that she's not going to be able to respond. And so that shows that like if I don't respond, it's not because I'm not into you, but I'm pretty busy with work right now. So I respond and I go, "Nice," and I say, "So and so is the man. Need to bottle up his happiness and sell it. Just got out of the gym, feeling all Arnold Schwarzenegger over here. Creating that funny visual for her. That's all. What good text game is a lot about that. Creating these funny, goofy images for her. She goes, "Just got out of my session. I agree to buy that bottle. Oh, you're working on your fitness, huh? I avoid doing that." Now, let me point something out. Fitness is something that I believe that, everybody should implement some sort of fitness in their routine, in their daily routine, They don't have to go to the gym every single day like I do, like 5-6 days a week, but they should implement something. There should be something there of, some sort of class or like even yoga or whatever it is. She's just flat out saying, "Oh, I don't go to the gym. I'm not that type of person." Now, if there wasn't enough like rapport, and if I wasn't like interested in her like on other topics, I probably would just honestly I would just avoid like letting this girl go, because these are things that this is important to me. Like gym is important. I think fitness is an important part of your health, and so I just kind of like let it go, and I said I'm in the gym every morning. I'm a man of routine. It shows I'm a man of strength. And then I'm all about routine. I'm all about self-development. I said, "What was the inspiration for writing today?" We've bonded on that. She hits again. That's dedication, man. I respect that. Another attempt to throw me in the friend zone, and I do not respond to it. She says, "Today was music specifically a call for placement, so it tends to be a bit generic, sometimes soul-sucking, but total was good actually. Finished 3 songs." I could have called her out on the man thing. I didn't take it as a big deal. I showed that I just ignore it. I'm not affected by it. Once again, pass that test. She goes, "That's the first time that's ever happened. That's not normal." I said, "That's a lot of songs." I said, "Coming from a girl who rocks out to Tom Petty, I'm vibing with her again on Tom Petty. I can only imagine how placement music is like selling your soul to the Grim Reaper." Again, creating that visual in her mind. I said, now, here I tie it in. And I show, look, at the end of the day, I'm supportive of the fact that you are a full-time artist. Most people would die to just be a full-time artist and live and be able to pay their rent just on, the fact that they're an artist. And I was like, but at the end of the day, the way I see it, you're doing your music for a living, and that's pretty badass. And I'm basically being over positive here. I'm showing that I'm supportive, but I'm not saying like, "Oh, I support you. Oh, you whatever you do, I support." That would be, a little bit needy. Instead, what I do is I was like, that's cool that you do that, because that's a positive way to look at it. That's a positive, easy, cool, way to go, right? And it's like, that's pretty badass. Like, that's so cool. She comes back and she goes, "Yeah, it's like I'm stronger than I was before. I'm eager for more. Yikes, I never actually wrote that, but it can be pretty bad." She's writing music for commercials. She goes, "I had a gig in your neck of the woods tonight, actually." And yes, thanks. I try to remember that. It's amazing to be able to make a living doing music in any way, so I should be more grateful. She's acknowledging the fact that I was positive, and I was kind of showing like, you should be grateful for the life that you have. That's really cool. Most people would die to be in that position. And she's had a gig in my neck of the woods. Now, she could have invited me, but she didn't want to seem too, over the top. But it shows that she wanted to invite me, and she thought about me, but she didn't, because she knew that she was going to see me the next day anyway. So then I said, "Yeah, it can be soul crushing. All right, morning." Actually, I started with morning. Morning's a good one because it builds rapport. Yeah, to be able to wake up and do music, that's an awesome gift. So then I said, hope gig went well. This is the funniest line of the entire thing is, my invitation must have got lost in the mail, along with the Bed Bath & Beyond coupons. Hilarious. Everybody gets Bed Bath & Beyond coupons all the time. Everybody can relate to that. It's creating that visual for her again. I actually was going to be available a little bit earlier. I said she'd be free a little bit earlier. House 702. Once again, calling that offbeat time, which always worked for every single girl I've ever gone out with. She goes, good morning. Oh, there's a little bit of a future projection here. When I come in and I was like, and I basically, come in and I say like, good morning, I actually throw it in right here, morning. That's like what boyfriends and girlfriends do to each other. They imagine waking up next to each other and go, good morning. That's like, so she responds back and shows like, good morning. So I respond and I go, haha, yeah, I knew you'd say that. She responds, yeah, I knew you'd say that. Not the Bed Bath & Beyond thing. I like that one, but that would have been a lot of pressure. So then she throws a little GIF out there. I'm a huge fan of GIFs. And then I say back and I go, she goes, can we do 802? And I say back and I go, haha, don't worry. I was hanging with Brad Pitt and Angelina last night. Would have took some convincing, but next time maybe my invitation won't get lost. I'm basically saying, I'm not saying like next time, you should invite me. I'm saying, look, next time my invitation won't get lost. I'm also showing like I was hanging with Brad Pitt and Angelina. Obviously I wasn't hanging out with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, but it's a funny thing. It's showing that like, oh, I was actually busy hanging out with celebrities. So, no big deal. I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. But then I said, I'm basically throwing the door open. Like, look, next time you have a gig in my neighborhood, like just feel free to send me an invite. Cause I would actually like to come, but I'm not saying that directly. So then I said, let's do 7:59 tonight, not a minute later. This is important. I said I want to meet early, throwing out the frame. She doesn't go for the frame. She actually's not available for that time. She said, "Can we do 8:02?" So she tries to recontrol the frame by selecting the new time, and I basically choose a time that's just a couple minutes off, that's later, that's still part of it. It's not 8, it's 7:59. I control the frame again. I call the time. Funny because I actually did walk in at 8:02, and that was a funny joke as well. She goes, oh, wow, friends in high places. The mailmen these days just aren't as good as they used to be. She goes, 7:59 I can do. And remember the rules. If you need me to jot them down on an index card for you, just shout it out. Now, here's the thing. I was going to write that, oh, actually, I'm coming with my own set of rules. So, yeah, you can. And I could have wrote that. But I actually wanted her to think that I was completely just buying into everything she was saying. Because this is ridiculous. She's writing down rules for the date. Like, come on, But it's just this funny thing. And so I go, yeah, that would be helpful so we're both on the same page. It's also kind of taking her joke and making a big deal out of it, which is another way to pass the test, right? Because this is a test, right? Definitely a test. So then, I was like, yeah, that would be helpful. We're both on the same page. See you then. Now, my ultimate rebuttal, and she says 7:59, see you then. So now I have the date set up. My ultimate rebuttal was the next thing I'm about to show you. I wrote this thing, which actually brought to the date. I printed it out, and I spent about 45 minutes creating this. And I brought this on the date with me, and I showed it to her, and I was like, oh, here you go. Like, I have my own set of rules, which is something she didn't expect. She just thought that I was going to abide by her rules. And she actually started out when we first got there, and she's like, oh, I didn't write the rules on a piece of on a index card. And I was like, oh, but that's okay, because I actually came with my set of rules. And I hand her this list, and I made it really big font because I wanted it to be as many pages as possible. Ends up being 3 pages of rules, right? So just the fact that it's 3 pages, she goes, what? And it was an answer to what she did. It's a funny thing. And the funny thing about this is so many of these rules were just completely broken, right? So she comes back, she goes, so I said, this is not a date, no snuggling, no discussion of big spoon, little spoon, no staring into each other's eyes for longer than 5 minutes. That's hilarious, because who does longer than 5 minutes? And she actually said something about that on the date. No discussion of Barney, no discussion of childhood dreams and aspirations, no request to borrow an oversized t-shirt, no mention of breakfast making, no kissing, no holding hands, no imagining the other person holding hands with you, no romantic mumbo jumbo, no serenading, no Disney costumes, no Frozen theme song singing, No discussion of each other's middle names. No pretending to yawn with arms extended to only end up putting your arm around the other person. That, is kind of like saying don't pretend to put your arm around me, which is that old picture, old visual of a guy like in the movie theater with a girl, yawning, and then he ends up with his arm around her, and then his arm stays there. It's just like this funny old kind of joke. She said, no consoling about past relationships, no discussion of travel arrangements, no duets, no flowers, no chocolates, no Barbies, no Kens, no jump rope competition, no special cheers. No kissing, no complimenting the other person's beauty, no massages, no cooking for the other person, no Netflix binges. These are all things that boyfriends and girlfriends do. No watching shows on either person's couch, no sharing blankets, no incessantly thinking about the other person, no dinner or drinks on the beach, no popping dem bottles of champagne, no looking at the other person's phone, absolutely no romantic related fun whatsoever, no exceptions to this rule. So she actually, instead of saying like, yeah, and going along with this, she actually took this list, and throughout the entire date, it became this running joke. Like every time we would get close to like breaking a rule, we would stop it and be like, oh, you're breaking a rule again. And so it became this like long running funny joke and part of the date. However, she spent more time disputing this stuff, like saying, what do you mean no duets? What do you mean no, like, what do you mean no special cheers? She's like, what's a special cheers? It made her curious about what these things are, right? Special cheers is, and I'll actually do another post about it. But special cheers is when you kind of cross your arms and you look into her eyes and you make this funny thing. You call it a special cheers. You just tell her don't break eye contact, or it's 7 years of bad sex. And then, it's like this cool little moment where you're, and I do it on every single date. But I didn't do it on this date, and she's like, what's the special cheers? And like, so she's like wondering about what all these things are, and she's wondering about why we can't do these things. And, this rule right here, 27, I completely broke it. I mean, and that was the running joke, and it still is the running joke of like the interaction is like, oh, we broke the date, we broke the rules, we keep breaking the rules. And she asked me a question like on the day, how am I kind of a badass? Because I mentioned something about that. I was like, oh, I'm kind of a rule breaker. And that was a funny joke. She said, well, how do you break rules? And that's when I just took that moment to create that movie moment. And I just looked at her and I just kissed her and we started making out. And we made out about like 4 or 5 times on the date. And so that's the thing is, I basically, when I kissed her, I completely like changed the dynamics of the date. She's like, she knows it's a date, but she's trying to pretend it's not a date, and she's trying to alienate like all men because guys have hurt her or whatever. And I completely tried to change the dynamics. Like friends don't go out and make out with each other. Like it was definitely a date. And she even said at the end, I had so much fun on this date. You can't get emotionally, personally affected when girls say, oh, I made a pact not to date anyone. They still are going to be available, but keep in mind, and as I talk about in another video, it's going to take a lot more work. They're going to be a little bit more closed off from time to time. They're going to be a little bit more, this is like against my pact I made to myself. And most of the time, 98% of the time, especially in this situation, it had nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me at all. It was just that, she made this pact. I show up before July. She's actually getting ready to leave town. To leave the country in like a week. And so she just said, oh, I'm not going to date any guys in LA before I leave. When I get back, then I'll reattempt this. So here I am showing up and getting her out on a date. I was not emotionally affected by this. I just kept it light, but I also built a lot of rapport and showed her that I do want to get to know her, but I did it from a comedic point of view. I didn't say, oh, what's your dreams and aspirations? Like I just said, like, I kept it cool. And I kept it comedic, and it was always lighthearted. And so that's the thing. You always want to keep it light, and you also want to show that you're persistent, that you're not going to just take this July thing. And if you are, you're going to I made a joke out of it. I was like, July, yeah, like, oh man, we need to get together and plan that because that's going to be a big time date. I want you guys to really like see how do I really not be personally affected by different things that they do, and how the opportunities are always still available. I can always still turn this around, and I did it extremely well, but it will take work. I mean, and so I would use this text transcript. If you have any more questions about texting, please feel free to reach out.